Hello everyone, welcome back to Valuation of Real Estate. We have completed session 1 with 20 MCQs with the concept. So today we are going to have a session on real property, rights and interests, ownership and occupancy. So let's get into session 2. Yes, the first one. So which of the following best distinguishes real property from personal property? So the options are: real property is always immobile, personal property is movable. So and B is real property is personal belongings of the owner. Personal property is land. Real property includes only buildings, not land. Real property is intangible. Personal property is tangible. So which one is correct? Option A is correct. Real property is always immobile. Personal property is movable. Actually, real property comprises land and anything permanently attached to it, like buildings, trees, fixtures, like that. Personal property are movable items like furniture, machinery, vehicles, like that. So, in the perspective of valuer, distinguishing them matters because valuation approaches differ. Land, buildings, or real properties use market, comparative, or cost approaches like that. But coming to the machinery, furniture, those type of properties may follow salvage or special purpose valuation procedures. Lenders, taxation, transfer formalities, and registration differ from real to personal property. For example, for your better understanding, a packaged AC unit inside an apartment might be personal. It is a movable, right? Unless fixed as a permanent fixture. A house and a plot are obviously real property. So here B is real property, personal belongings of the owner, personal property is land, he said. So it is wrong. C is excluding the land, so it is not. It is wrong. And third one, the fourth one, real property is intangible and personal property is tangible. Intangible and tangible means intangible. Tangible means it can be physically measured. Intangible means it cannot be physically measured, like brands and all are intangible assets. So the correct option is A. So coming to the second question, bundle of rights in real property typically includes all except. So it is a, don't hurry in reading and answering the question. Here bundle of rights in real property typically includes all except. So 1 out of these 4 is not listed in bundle of rights. It is a negative question. So right to possess is bundle of right. So we can occupy, if there is right, we can occupy it and enjoy it, right? Right to use, right to use and enjoy, it is also a bundle of right. Right to adopt and government policies affecting the neighborhood. Right to dispose or sell. All these A, B, C are bundle of rights. A, B and A, B, D are. Except this right to adopt government policies affecting the neighborhood is not correct. Okay, so the answer is C. Right to adopt government policies affecting the neighborhood. Actually, the concept is the bundle of rights refers to privileges tied to the property ownership, possession, control, use, exclusion, enjoyment, and disposition, like that. These rights are subjected to law, like zoning and building codes, like that. But in the perspective of valuer, encroachments on these rights, example, restricted use, eminent domain, reduced marketability and market value, affecting highest and best use analysis and mortgageability. So valuers explicitly should check title and encumbrances to understand the effective bundle of rights. For example, a property under compulsory acquisition loses the right to disposition, severely affecting its value. So here encumbrance means, actually, for your understanding, I'm telling encumbrance means it is a load on the property. Load means it is a burden. It might be mortgage, or it might be under some lease or something like that. So we have to check, as a valuer, we have to check everything, the background and verification and all. So the correct option is right to adopt government policies affecting the neighborhood. It is not a bundle of right. Third one, which ownership form gives the owner indefinite possession of the land with no fixed term? Leasehold, freehold, life estate, license. Obviously, the correct one is B, freehold. By indefinite means it is not for any definite time, right? So it is not any per specific time. So until and unless that the ownership remains with the owner only. So it is a freehold category. Freehold ownership generally means ownership in perpetuity. Perpetuity means permanence, subjected to law, with rights to possess, use, transfer, like that. Leasehold is for a fixed term only. Life estate lasts until the life of that person only. Okay. License is very for small duration, and it is revocable also. So out of all these, which one is very weak by law and occupancy? License is the very weak with respect to law, because it is revocable. Anytime the owner can cancel the license subjected to the conditions and all. Okay. So here the correct answer is freehold. A life estate property gives rights to the owner's hires forever, a person for the duration of that person's life, the government for public use, the mortgagee until loan repayment. The owner's hire means, what does mean by hire? He is legally successor of the property. Okay, legal successor of the property. He may be one of the legal heirs. He may be owner of the entire successor of the entire property, or one of the legal heirs also. So owner's heirs forever. So it is not correct. So a person for the duration of that person's life. This is the correct one. Okay. The government for public use. This is not correct. The mortgage until loan repayment. So the correct option is B. So for your better understanding, a life estate grants ownership use rights to an individual for their life. At the death, the property passes to the remainder man or reverts to the grantor. It is not inheritable beyond the life of tenant's life. The tenant's successors or somebody will not get the property passing to them. So for in valuer's perspective, Life estate complicate, it's a complicated valuation. Marketability is limited only. So cannot sell perpetually to some others, right? So, and value depends on life expectancy only. And reversionary interest also. Valuers may compute present value of the life tenant's interest and remainder man's reversionary value. Mortality tables and discounting are used actually. So, for example, owner grants life estate to mother. After mother's passing, property reverts to children only. So, why others wrong? Others are wrong actually. A is a completely different because there is no any legal heirs to the consideration here, and C is different and is completely relevant to the question. Okay. Unit 1. Which of the following is an easement? Right to harvest crops to another's land permanently and exclusively. Non-possessory right to use a portion of someone else's lands for a specific purpose. For example, right of way. C. Ownership of the land in joint tenancy. D is temporary license to hold an event on another's property. The correct answer will be non-possessory right to use a portion of someone else's land for a specific purpose, right of way. See here, an easement actually is a permanent non-possessory right that benefits one parcel, dominant tenement, okay, over another servient tenant. Example, access road, utility line. It runs with the land unless extinguished. So, in the perspective of value, easement affects highest and best use and marketability. So, the positive easement right of way may increase the utility for the dominant and add value. Okay. The negative easement, drainage like that can reduce the value of the servient land. Valuers must identify recorded easements and reflect them. So, the sixth one, which tenancy form allows equal undivided shares but without right of survivorship? So, the answer will be tenancy in common. See, joint tenancy actually it allows right of survivorship because whoever is alive after the passage of existing owner, if there are two survivors, for example, if there are two survivors in a commitment, if one is passed, automatically the entire ownership transfers to the another owner who is alive, but it is not a inheritance to the successor of the or legal heir of the owner who is already passed. So, joint tenancy allows right of survivorship, but it is not a inheritance according to inheritance because it does not allow to the successors. The whoever is alive, the remaining owner will get entire ownership. So, it is not the correct option. The tenancy in common, two or more owners hold distinct shares, which can be unequal also. In the same property, shares are inheritable. No survivorship concept here. So, this is the correct answer. So, joint tenancy is right of survivorship. The survivor takes entire share. When co-personary is actually, it is among co-personers. That means it is a act in earlier days. Only the male dominants will get the property share. And a tenancy by entirety means it is between married couple. So the correct answer would be tenancy in common. 7. License to use another's land differs from an easement primarily because it is permanent and transferable, revocable and non-assignable, and property right registered with a title. Encumbrance that increases the land value. So the license is a temporary permission to use the land actually, like a ticket to enter a private garden, and it is generally revocable. Not an interest in the land. An easement is typically permanent and runs with the land. So licenses have negligible and short-term value. They do not show on title like easements or rarely support mortgage scrutiny also. Values treat license in income as a transient. That means it is very temporary and often exclude it also from capitalization for long-term value. So for example, permission to hold a wedding in someone's backyard for a day, it is a license. Okay. So it is irrevocable and signable. This option is correct. Okay. 8th one. Which of the following best describes riparian rights? Rights related to mining mineral wealth under the land. Rights of the landowners whose land abuts a river to reasonable use of water. Rights to exclusive airspace above the property. Right of first refusal on adjacent land sales. So the correct answer would be rights of landowners whose land abuts a river to reasonable use of water. The remaining are already clearly explanatory. We need not discuss in detail. Which of the following best explains usufruct? The options are complete transfer of the ownership including title. B. Right to enjoy the use and the fruits of the another's property without altering substance. C. Government tax on land transfers. D. A short lease less than 1 month. The term usufruct means it gives someone the right to use property and collect his production, while the ownership, that means the naked title, remains with the another. The usufructuary means it preserves the substance of the property but doesn't transfer the ownership. Okay. Usufruct affects marketability and makes valuation split between usufruct value, the present value of the use, and owner's bare ownership, that means reversion. In India, analogous concepts arise in life interest arrangements. Values need to quantify separated interest, like discounting future reversion for the original landowner and present value in use for the usufruct owner. That means whoever is taking the lease or something like that. For example, a person has usufruct of orchard, collects crops but cannot sell the land. Okay, he can collect the crop, he can sell the crop also. He can sell the product also, but he cannot sell the land. And why others are wrong? A is complete transfer. So it does not allow the land transfer, right? So it is wrong. B is governmental tax, it is irrelevant. And short lease for less than 1 month, it is like license and all. So it is not correct. So it is right to enjoy the use and fruits of another's property without altering the substance. Okay, this is correct. Which of the following would most likely to reduce the marketability of the property? Clear register title free of encumbrances, presence of a long-term recorded easement benefiting the property, multiple unresolved litigations and encumbrances on title, recent renovation and modern amenities. It is clearly understandable and explanatory. Multiple unresolved litigations and encumbrances on title. We have already explained. Encumbrances means load on the burden on the property, like mortgages, like that, loans. So all these are encumbrances. So it which is in the question it is reduce. So which reduces the value of the property? Obviously, the multiple unresolved litigations and encumbrances reduce the value. But A is clear registered title. It encourages the value, right? Presence of long-term recorded easement benefiting the property. So it is increasing the value. Recent renovation and modern amenities increasing value. So the correct one would be multiple unresolved litigations is the correct one. Okay, it reduces the value. Joint tenancy differs from tenancy in common because joint tenancy features unequal shares and transferable by will, right of survivorship where the survivor takes whole interest, a contract between owner and government, and temporary easement property. We already discussed it in detail. So the option will be B. Which of the following best identifies leasehold interest in valuation terms? It's the same as freehold for valuation purpose. Wrong. Don't hurry in reading the questions. It is clearly said it is leasehold. It is a freehold. So how it can be a freehold property? Leasehold interest and freehold interest are different. Okay. A time limited right to occupy and use the property under lease terms. Value depends on remaining terms and rent. A permanent right to alter the title can be revoked without notice. This is the correct answer. Others are wrong. Can be easily identified. Right? Which of the following best describes mortgagee in property transactions? The person who borrows money and gives property as security, person who lends money and takes property as security, person who transfers property as a gift, and government authority that assesses property tax. The answer would be the person who lends money and takes property as security is mortgagee. And who takes the property, who borrows the money, what is called? Mortgager. Okay. Person who lends money and takes the property as a security is mortgagee. Like banks and financial organizations are mortgagees. The lender is mortgagee. So A is mortgager. The person who if we take a loan in a bank by keeping any documents under mortgage is called as mortgager. The bank would be called as mortgagee. So the following occupancy types creates the least proprietary interest. Leasehold tenancy, license, owner, occupier, tenant in common occupant. The license. It is a very, very weak agreement between owner and tenant, right? Can anytime it is revocable under the conditions. Which statement about the assignment of the lease is correct? Assignment creates new lease independent. of the original lessor. Actually, what does mean by assignment of lease? For example, assignment transfer tenant's remaining lease interest to the third party. If you sublease it, but owner the original lease agreement does not affect actually. If there is a lessor and there is a lessee and there is a sublessee. The assignment of lease means he is transferring to the sublessee, but this original agreement does not affect. Assignment creates new lease independent of the original lessor. Wrong. Assignment transfer tenant's remaining lease interest to the third party, but original tenant may remain liable unless released by the lessor. Yes. Assignment cancels the lease and returns property to landlord. Assignment always increases the property market value. The answer would be B. Which form of co-ownership is created by Hindu succession and affects property division among male legal descendants? We already discussed it. Co-personary. Tenancy, joint tenancy is right of survivorship, and tenancy by entirety is between married couples, and tenancy in common is it allows inheritance with unequal distribution of shares also. Which right best describes subsurface rights? Right to build above surface, right to use neighboring surface for access, if rights to minerals, oil, gas beneath the land surface, right to install roof solar panels. Okay. Subsurface means as a civil engineers or civil engineering students or somebody else, we can easily understand the subsurface means beneath the earth, right? If there is a highway, we prepare subgrade, subbase, base like that. That means beneath the ground. Okay. So obviously it is explanatory. Right to use minerals, oil, gas beneath the land surface. Which of the following legal features is most likely to require adjustment in valuation report due to its effect on title transferability? Small cosmetic crack in plaster? No. Unregistered mortgage or charge? Recent fresh coat of paint? Newly installed modular kitchen? So it is a negative question. Hurry in answering it. Unregistered mortgage or charge reduces the value. So it requires adjustment in valuation report. It affects the title transferability. The 19th one is, which phrase best defines quiet enjoyment as a property right? The owner can enjoy the property free from nuisance and claims by landlord if tenant. The owner has allowed parties whenever desired the government's rights to enter a property without notice, the right to harvest timber for commercial sale. So the answer would be the first one. Okay. The owner can enjoy the property free from nuisance and claims by the landlord if tenant. See, actually the concept is quiet enjoyment is an implied covenant in leases. Covenant means the agreement. In leases that tenants will be able to use the premises without disturbances from the landlord or superior title owner. Okay. It guards against wrongful eviction or interference of the landowner with the tenant. So in valuation perspective, breach of quiet enjoyment reduces rental income and predictability and market value. Claims or frequent disputes discourage buyers or lenders, leading to discounts. Valuers should check litigation or notice records also. For example, if a landlord repeatedly cuts off utilities like water and drainage system like that to the tenant, it breaches the quiet enjoyment. Tenant may claim rent abatement. That means rent reduction, something like that. The last one, when property is held by a company, corporate ownership, which of the following is true for valuation purposes? Corporate ownership always reduces marketability compared to individual ownership. Valuers ignore corporate structure, only physical property matters. Corporate ownership may affect transfer mechanics, taxes, stamp duty implications. Thus, net proceeds. Valuers should note these effects. Corporate ownership converts real property into personal property. No, the answer would be C. So that's all for today. We'll meet again in session 3. Thank you for watching. Take care.